welcome back everyone to our afternoon sessions for our first day of the Enterprise Digital Transformation Asia 2022 virtual conference. So up first, we have the digital workforce and workplace track. We will have a panel session on managing a human digital workforce in 2022 and beyond. So in this panel session, we have Stanley Chan, Head of Digital Transformation at Bupa Asia Limited. We have Adam Chi, Chief Smart Health Leadership Center at NUS. We have Jantima Prungkarn, Vice President, Technology Strategy and Business Development at CM Commercial Bank. And our moderator, we have Tiarma Quezonita Simanungkalit, Digital Transformation Director at PwC. So over to you, Tiarma.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So I hope that I'm audible. I hope that everyone is healthy and happy today, wherever you are. It is actually my pleasure here to be able to sit together with prominent panelists in this session. I would like to introduce Dr. Adam Chi, our first panelist in this session. Dr. Adam, if you don't mind, please tell us about yourself.
Thanks a lot. My name is Adam. I'm serving as the chief of the Smart Health Leadership Center over at the National University of Singapore. So, as the title implies, I'm working on digital transformation for the health sector. So, over at the center, we work with Ministry of Health from Singapore and beyond, various hospitals, research institute, other universities, predominantly on digital health transformation across the entire continuum of care. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adam. So it is very interesting indeed. The next panelist we have here is Chan Stanley. Chan, if you would like to introduce yourself to the audience here.
Yep, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Stanley. I'm working in Bupa Hong Kong for 3 years as a head of digital transformations. The vision of company is to help people to live longer, healthier, and happier life and making a better world. So my major activity is to provide the digital strategies and transformation initiative to improve our customer experience, as well as providing some business benefit to our operations in the insurance and the healthcare sector. Previously, we are mainly dominated to lead some projects in the mobile applications across the insurance and healthcare, and to integrate the customer journeys among them to provide seamless and satisfactory customer experience in a digital way. That's all.
Thank you, Chan. It is very interesting to have you in this session. And then the last of our panelists is the Miss Jantima Prungkarn. If you can introduce yourself, Miss Jantima.
Okay, thank you, Tima. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jantima. I am a VP of the Technology Strategy and Business Planning at the SCB Thailand. I have been here for like more than 5 years. So I have provided a thought and a digital trends coming up to a leadership. So I have a skill of the development and the project management to make sure all the project in our staff are going good and have a risk and issue and go live to be on time. So today very excited about our amazing conversation that going to have. So let's find out and enjoy session together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jantima. So it is very good to have this conversation in regards to the managing a human digital workforce in 2022 and beyond. The topic itself is very interesting. We can expect the hybrid human digital workforce to become commonplace with the environments here within the next 5 years or even the future. So people will work side by side with their future software assistants, sharing tasks, handling work off, and then taking it back many times throughout the day. So there are a couple of questions in regards to this hybrid workforce made up with both human and digital workers. Alongside these virtual companions, what is the question is that how do we make sure that the employees accept automation and develop the skills necessary to collaborate productively with their virtual assistants and automated procedures as we go closer to that reality. Maybe Dr. Adam can share your experience or your opinions in regards to this.
Sure. So I will share it from the healthcare perspective. And
Yeah.
to be honest, this is a very big topic. So I can't promise that I'll provide an answer that satisfies everyone. Must give you guys the disclaimer. So first thing first, digital is prevalent in many industry, of course, healthcare, but it is also important to understand that in the realm of health and healthcare, even though you can see adoption in many segments of this industry, it is still not uniformly provided and not across the entire spectrum of care, because there will be some aspects of healthcare services that simply cannot be replaced by digital. It can be augmented, but it cannot be used to replace healthcare professionals. This is number one. Number two, in the provision of care, the patient is an equally important partner. So when we design a workforce, a healthcare workforce, we actually have to take into account patient preferences, their family preferences. So in the entire provision of care, right now we have a situation where it's a hybrid model. And in this hybrid model, so some services are online, some services are still analog. And we have to cater, due to unique nature, cater preferences of patients and their family, because these are the caregiver. It makes it challenging at times to plan such services. So case in point, if today I want to roll out telemedicine services to the elderly in let's say in Singapore, right? Infrastructure wise, we don't have to worry because basic infrastructure is relatively okay. So that's one equation out. You don't have to prepare the workforce in a sense that they have to be digital savvy. They're roughly there. But because the patient and the family are equal stakeholders, we actually have to invest in those areas as well, not only psychologically preparing them to accept digital services, but also having to make sure that they have the relevant infrastructures of supported. So case in point, if they were to download an app, again, my example is telemedicine for the elderly. Then the question is, we have to make sure, hey, for the elderly, do they actually have mobile devices? What version of mobile devices do they have? What application? How do you use an app? So these are challenges that are unique, in a sense, because unlike other industry, let's say FMCG or F&B, you can choose not to serve those clientele, those population, if they are not digitally savvy. It's okay, I don't want to earn your money, I'll have another clientele. Whereas in healthcare, some of these are necessary. We have no choice. So these actually pose challenges. And if you do not balance it right, it becomes a extra burden, although that's a negative way of describing it, to the healthcare professionals. Because if, let's say hypothetically, I'm clinical, I'm doing clinical work today, and I have to go on to a telemedicine platform to deliver professional services, and then the patient, on the other hand, is not ready. Then it becomes an issue for delivery of care, even though when you look at it objectively, it's a technical issue. It's not a health issue, but to the patient, it doesn't work that way. To them, it's your provisional care lacks out. So these are some of the stuff that we take into consideration when we're preparing the digital workforce. And that might be a little bit unique to some of the other clients. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can imagine, I being a patient itself, I might question whether I should take the robotic to do my operations or a human being, right? And it's quite interesting to hear the story because, like Singapore, you mentioned Singapore allocated 600 million. It's in budget 2020 to support SMEs, including probably healthcare, increasing their efficiency by digitizing and automating their business operations. So it is very interesting story. And how about Chan Stanley? What do you think about how we can make sure that employees accept these automations? Like Dr. Ada mentioned that it will be patient against the workforce, accept automation and develop the skills necessary. in your current industry?
I will share from the perspective of the insurance industry. I think that's kind of a bit sensitive to employees. I think in the last 10 years or so. So I think digital, it's a trend that everybody agrees it will be the future on how the business run their own operations. But at the same time, it also means a lot of employees would have a lot of fears on what their future looks like, because from the insurance industry as an example, there's a lot of traditional operations that rely on process. The customer services, the claims, underwriting, all of that has built long histories of those long SOP and what I know is I've heard a lot of companies they purely focusing on the operation benefit, reducing the FTE by digital, which also comes with a problem that there's a tension between the employees, the staff versus the management team, because whenever you deploy a new project, that means I'm going to lose my job. So that's a really big topic and really sensitive questions. I think a lot of companies has been struggling with on how they shape their projects and they shape the digital. So for my experience, that we in a couple of years ago, we launched a chatbot AI solutions to our customers, and the way we did it is we shape it as a customer experience focused project. So we lay down that we quite insist on the principle that we are not trying to replace our workforce with the digital, but we're trying to assist them. So we're trying to assist employees to have an easier life, to do less manual work, where they could focus on upskilling and do more high value operations instead of the routine admin work. So I think this change management piece is really important, and it's really crucial that we all need to bear in mind whenever we kickstart or initiate any new initiative, any digital. So all digital initiatives are great, but when it comes to implications to what the employees are about, I think a lot of change management practice needs to be considered to make it work and to make the project really success. That's what I've been experienced for.
Okay, thanks, Chen Stanley. So, difference with the health industry where not everyone is ready. There is some in regards to patient preference. For the insurance industry, there are a feeling of losing my job, and then there's a tension between employee and management. There is a need for change management, and we also need to communicate that all this the digital that replacing human is actually assisting instead of replacing. I think that's the message. It is quite interesting to hear. How about Miss Jantima? How is in your industry in regards to employees accepting the automation and develop the skills necessary for this collaboration on the human digital?
Yes, in terms of the banking industry, in my current situation, so we talk about the overall cost. I think the hiring a virtual assistant cost is less than the hiring a full-time employees. So another main difference is a location. So you can find like the virtual assistant based almost anywhere in the world. Location is unimportant right now, right? We can remote work properly at the moment. So in our organization, we use the virtual assistant in a variety of the work functional, because of the two main thing that I think is the important that we try to use on that is the virtual assistant, they can adapt to the fluctuation in the workload. So when we have the seasonal busy period, there's some quieter times in the between. Maybe you have to like a big event in the calendar, so that's going to take more than overtime to deliver. So using the automation or the virtual assistant give the flexibility to scale up and support when we need it and reduce it when the thing came down. So the last thing is I think the employee staff is usually more expensive with the side cost. It means that when we consider the total cost of the employing a permanent member or staff, to start with, we need to provide it like a space, a desk, IT equipments, and a phone lines as a minimum. So to mixture as a virtual staff or the automatic with the permanent staff in a specific role, we get more benefit to our organization. Employee also need to develop their management skill to look overall of the virtual assistant or automation that to ensure that work properly and work together in a good and well delivered. Yes, this is
Yeah,
my
that is interesting. So
yeah.
in different industries have different pro and cons, and then in regards to human digital, and for banking, I foresee that locations being in remote and then work overtime will taking by this digital future workforce. Whereas then there is a balance between the employee costs and how do we engage with this virtual, and employees actually needs to upskill their management skills, including managing the digital workforce. So that's quite interesting. So the how it's the next, probably the next topic is quite interesting, is that how can companies successfully redeploy employees and train them to take on this new higher skilled and more strategic work, like Ms. Jantima mentioned that management skills needs to be improved. How do you think that the companies can successfully redeploy and employees and train them to take on this new higher skilled? Maybe Ms. Jantima can continue what you're thinking or your opinions, especially on the banking industries.
Yeah, sure. I think we would manage more effective to redeployment the new era of mixture. So now we see the value in the redeployment over other more costly from the resourcing. I think first thing is a right person, right place, and the right time. So if we successful of the redeployment can only happen if you have someone available to fill a new or open a position. So the right transferable skill and who wants to move internal. So in our organization have more than 1,000 employees. That's why we need to look in the redeploy and transferable internal is the first thing that we need to keep in my mind. And mechanic to matching skill, career goals, and available opportunity have to do like the manually that make sure the right person get into the right job. So the second is we need to promote skill set, not the tasks, as I mentioned in the management skill. So in the demand in one of the our bank has taken, so need to redeploy the management skill set. Like the example is rather than looking for other management role internally, so we need to consider how to redirect their skill to make their ability to pursue on the email and make presentation to our company to make to get the new idea from them. The second, I think the third, I think create internal networking opportunities. So we need to facilitate the internal network building by creating opportunities for the people from different teams or department to collaboration, so they will know which function or in other department is matching to them. And the last thing, I think and we need to encourage our all the manager to stay in tune with their employees. It's like it's good to have a conversation to see where they seeing themselves in a 1 year or 2 years in the next and then we have to match and meet them in a halfway, whether this means moving them into the new position to build their skill set or their future career goals, or setting them up on the right path internally. So to ensure they end up exactly where they want to be without having to leave our company. So this all the things that I think in the banking try to redeploy the employee at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So identifying the right talents to the right job instead of going to the tasks, and then having like cohesive movements internally to make sure that people are excited to stay in the organizations, while some of the jobs, some of the tasks are replaced by the digital workforce. Dr. Adam, so how about in health itself? How are the companies successfully redeploy employees and train them? Given that we have this digital workforce, how do they take on new and higher skilled for those medical employees, including probably some of the relationship with the patients as well, like you mentioned before?
It is actually similar to what Jantima has mentioned, except in healthcare, we realize that the further we move along digital, the more manpower we need. It's not a case of actually reducing staff. We have a drastic increase of staff, because if you think about it, the clinical professionals in their clinical work, because in terms of healthcare, if you're patient facing, your work does not reduce. With the advent of digital, there are a lot of times where it is increase of responsibility. So this is one of the area where healthcare professionals are sometimes not happy. So you hear stories of medical doctors saying that, hey, this is taking out too much of our time, that we have to use electronic medical records or some other gadgets and devices, which actually in the long term it will benefit, but in the immediate short term, especially emergency, they say, no, I don't really need all this to provide care. Of course, that's another argument. So what we have witnessed is that actually we have an increase of manpower. So the core competencies that still needed for healthcare professionals remains the same, but we now service a lower ratio, percentage of patients, and then we increase more healthcare professionals. Now that is the acute care setting. At the same time, we're also moving towards preventive care. Worldwide, you see the same phenomena, because it's simply too expensive to wait for people to get sick, then they go and seek healthcare treatment. So, healthcare systems all over the world, we're moving towards preventive care. Now, in the adoption of digital transformation in this segment of care, this will make a huge difference, because then we can use wearable devices, apps, to encourage healthier living. Of course, this has to tie back to national policies and what have you, and you can use a lot of analytics, the big data, etc., to run models and simulation for public health. So this would help reduce healthcare costs. But in terms of manpower, again, we don't see them going down, because now you need more skill sets. You need more data scientists, more nutritionists, more more of everything to do preventive care. So we don't really have that issue of. So we have redeployment of manpower for sure. Any industry that goes to digitalization, you will have skills transformation, but we don't have the issue. Well, I rather see the issue of surplus of manpower. What I've witnessed so far across different healthcare settings is increase of shortage of manpower due to digitalization. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting, right? So people thought that with digital transformation, then there will be the reduction of human being to work, right? But apparently, it's the increasing of the some of the human persons, but it's just like different work to do, right? And more on this new jobs being created, like data scientists and all this new initiative in regards to preventive care, and then making sure that adoption digital in health. And so I would like to move to Chan Stanley, how about in insurance? How can companies successfully redeploy employees and train them to take on a new, higher skilled? With the interesting story from Ms. Jantima and Dr. Adam, is it the same happening in also insurance? If you can share your experience in this.
Yeah, so I think similar similar view from Yatima. So I think finding the right talent is really important. So we always want to internally find the right talent to upskill them so that they could embrace the new technologies to lead the digital workforce with the existing teams rather than just finding new people. We don't really have the problem, as Adam mentioned, that we have a lot of new headcounts because of that. Normally, what we see is we transform the functions into a new skill set that they require. So examples like when traditionally you do underwriting, you have a lot of papers, you have a lot of medical records, you have a lot of underwriters each look into each case. But with a lot of engines set up, so a lot of general medical assessment decision can be made by the underwriting engine, but there's still a lot of complex case that requires an underwriter to look into it. But the difference is just they need to understand how the underwriting engine works, and sometimes some of them need to maintain the rules by themselves. So what I would suggest and experience is when we thinking about transforming or redeploying the workforce, we need to involve the talents that we're looking into and upskill them before we launch any digital solution. So I would bring back my previous example about the chatbot. So what we did as a total change management solution is we know that the employees may not be comfortable about the new solutions because they fear about the job loss. So we invite them actually to participate in the project. So for example, for the chatbot launch, we need a lot of NLP data. We need a lot of real data to train up the chatbot. So we invite a lot of our CS team and customer service team and the sales team to understand and to contribute what the customers normally inquire, so that we can build up the initial database for the chatbot to train up. And that also provides an opportunity for them to learn about how the AI chatbot and we also rethink more digitally savvy and have potential to uplift the skills. So after we launch the initial project, they could still participate and involve in the ongoing maintenance and enhancement of that. So I think what I want to point out is there's a lot of talents in each company. There's a lot of available assets. We just need to identify them. It may not be a big scale launch. It may be by each individual MVP launch, you identify a few talents and then you train them up, and then they will be like the train the concept. They could start advocate, helping to convey the message to the other people that how the digital solution should help them. So that's some experience I gone through in this topic.
That's quite interesting. So your experience is identifying the talents, upskill before launching the digital transformation, and they will become the advocate of the human digital that is happening in the companies. That is very interesting. Then how is actually this human digital workforce managed? Then how can the leaders effectively transition these companies towards the future of work where human and digital hand in hand working together? And what should be the priority in the year 2022 and beyond with a lot of this digital transformation moving forwards to the digital revolution? Maybe Chan, if you can continue the conversation, it is very interesting where you say we should have identify the talents, upskill first before your launch, and they will become the advocate of this human digital environments and all the initiatives relates to it. Chan Stanley?
I think Yeah, I think that's the start. And to be honest, I think from the leadership level, there's a lot of things to do to help pushing this digital human workforce to work collectively in that way. So one thing I want to point out is about thinking. We think about the organizational goal and our objective. So I understand that a lot of companies have a lot of KPI. So I think one of the struggle is in the traditional way of KPI, a lot of in operations, you might have a lot of traditional targets that you need to fulfill. So like how many Ks you've done and how fast you've done it, or the error rate, something like that. But if you want to really embrace the digital world, we as a leadership, we such as like how the customers is satisfied with the solutions, how fast is the customers could respond to the solutions, or how like how much efficiency could the solution have for the team, so something like that. So with different level KPI, with different level goals, it really could help each functional leaders to reshape the team. It brings a lot of new opportunities on retraining or upskills or finding sometimes finding new talents that could really fit into the team and functions that would could work align with the company's objective. So there's going to be a lot of disruptions within the organizations. So change happens, and some people might not like that, and naturally some people will leave because of the change. But I think that's the future. That's what we're looking into when we see how RPA is helping the business, how the AI is now becoming more and more important on the different kind of business aspect. We already foresee what's happened. For some companies, we're still having the traditional functions. I think that's not going to work really good. I think rather than just implementing a new solutions, at the same time, we also need to think about how the company structures could change to align with the different solutions and goals of the digital.
Hello. Hello. Sorry, it's I think it's a little bit disconnect from my
Can you
side.
hear me?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit disconnect from my side. Thank you, Chen Stanley. So it is interesting. You said that there will be a lot of disruption, change happen. Some people not like it, but what we as a companies, as a leaders, you need to rethink of the organization goals. And instead of going through the strict KPI, then it will be everyone should have their own KPI goals and focusing on the customer experience, and then we'll create all these new opportunities. I think that's very, very, very interesting for leaders who are in this call to understand how do we treat on that human digital initiative that we have now. How about Ms. Jantima, if you can give your opinions about how is this human digital workforce being managed, and how can leaders effectively transition their companies towards the future of work? What should the companies prioritize in the year 2022 and beyond with the human digital that is happening, where Chen Stanley mentioned we cannot run away from AI. All those things will happen whether you like it or not.
Yeah, for me, it's quite similar with Stanley that we need to take the advantage of the robotic process, right? So right now, the impact of the pandemic has turned and spotlight on the sustainability. A few agile companies just have adopted a new tools and the methodologies to adapt this change. So seem like our bank, our company that embrace the new normal of the remote working have introduced to all the digital worker, so to support our business continuity and manage productivity, profitability, and efficiency. During the pandemic, kind of the operation work can be automated efficiently using a combination of digital worker that can have the advantage from the RPA. So the digital workers would reach out to humans for the approval. Like we need the governance to cover on that. So when they fail to perform the operation, we call the human we call this human in the loop. And one of the most significant growth area is when the company redesign this process to incorporate this human in the loop strategy. So I think we try to building a human and the digital workforce to bring in sustenance. Leveraging a digital future requires a principle driven approach, focusing on the elevating human values as we remain mindful of the well-being and the welfare of the future generations. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So in banking now, I've seen as well, people work remotely, and then whenever I log in to have a call, then there is this people, the human digital is actually answering my questions. So I foresee that bank industries will have any digital human digital initiatives relate to efficient workforce utilizing all those digital application and digital tools. How about Dr. Adam in the health industry? How is it that the organization, how are the leaders actually prioritizing in the year 2022? How can the leaders effectively transition companies for this future of work where more and more tasks are actually done by digital instead of by human, and then those human digital workforce being managed with there are some are under humans, some are under digital applications or digital tools.
So that's a very good question. I think generally, the industry is taking it well. So a lot of prep work has to be done definitely to adjust the mindset of the healthcare professionals. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this agile methodology. So it's used usually in developers industry to develop software that meets ever-changing requirements. So in recent years, you see the agile mindset as a concept being very popular in the healthcare industry, because it is what it is. We deal with a very volatile, ever-changing environment. So you tie it back to COVID, where we have to literally revamp work processes very quickly, while taking into quality of care and patient safety in very short time, whenever there's a change in pandemic status. So this has actually, in a way, speed up adoption and mindset. So as far as I can see, healthcare professionals in general, we're very open about it. And to a large extent, depending, of course, on the job segment where we are augmenting using technology, we welcome it. So yeah, so far don't see an issue with regards to workforce handling. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting. So it is very interesting discussions, and I would actually open up the questions from the audience here, if there's any, and if it's not, then I would like to move on to some of the questions in regards to this human digital, like Dr. Adam mentioned about adjusting the mindset where it is a volatile, ever-changing environment. How do you foresee that where you will need to balance between passion as well as on the healthcare? How do you foresee that healthcare staff where you have this mindset needs to be comes from both sides for them to be ready?
That is a good question. So, from the healthcare providers' perspective, most clinical folks, the only reason why we stay in the industry is really for the love of the job. If you look at healthcare professionals' salary and the type of work, the risk involved, all healthcare professionals are underpaid. You can't even argue on that. It's a fact. The only reason why we stay in this work is because we believe in something. So it takes a certain type of people to work in healthcare. Same thing goes for firefighters. It's actually illogical on a subconscious level to expect a human being to run into a fire, right? So it takes a certain type of species to do that. And the healthcare environment is one of those environments where healthcare professionals they do have a calling. It might sound cliche, but if you really come to the environment, you will see a lot of that. So from that perspective, it's not so bad because as long as they are able to understand that technology, the digitalization, whatever sort of technology you put in, AI, IoT, it is to help us deliver care in a better manner. We welcome it. So we are very used to using tools in healthcare. We use diagnostic tools all the time to help us obtain information so that we can perform a better diagnosis, identify better treatment. The patients, on the other hand, will be slightly different. So the younger generations, they do understand that this is inevitable, and a lot of stuff, especially for chronic diseases, let's say diabetes, heart attacks, not heart attack, heart conditions, they are a threat to your health, but you're not dying immediately. You don't need the acute reaction. So a lot of this can be of such services where this periodical monitoring, maintenance, you can use technology to bridge the gap, and it's actually more efficient. You don't have to go all the way to the hospital, wait for half an hour just to talk to your clinician for 5 minutes, because all you have to do is look at your vitals and what have you and tell you, hey, all is good, no change your medication, right? But for the elderly, not all, but there will be some, then and this is human nature, so they can't adopt to the change yet. Then they will question, does the physician actually know what they're doing? If you're interviewing me or you're diagnosing me remotely, is it accurate? Can you actually see my wound properly? Can you actually see my skin lesion properly, etc., etc.? So it takes time. There's no other way about it. It's just a matter of culture and social change. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Adam. So it is very interesting to hear from Chan Stanley that the rethinking of organization goals, where you are actually needs to adopt the KPIs, and then where you create new opportunities. How do you foresee that it will happen in the organizations, given that a lot of conflicts in of this rethinking of organization goals? How do leaders react to of these organization goals rethinking? Maybe Chan Stanley can elaborate more on that, because it is quite interesting. It is not easy to change someone's KPI. It is not easy to rethink of the organization goals.
Yeah, I think to this extent, I think our company is quite lucky. So we have really strong leadership on the group level, that they have pushed a really strong organizational KPI in terms of both customer experience and digitalization. So it conveys into different sub KPIs to different market unit, and our business is one of them. So I think it really comes to some determinations on how the leaders and how the company work for it. I think one of the things that I heard from Adam is quite interesting about the calling of a job. So if we only view our jobs as a paid task, so you just don't have a lot of motivations to change, to improve, to cope with the world, because you just got paid whatever you do, right? But if you have some calling, or you have some passions, not necessarily to really save life or help people, but even just to improve customer experience, to help the customers do their work easily, more happily, and visions that we're trying for. So them to really push a lot of message to different market, to different our office, that's we really focusing to provide good customer experience. I think earning profit is important, but we need to be fair to our customers. So with this all strong vision in mind, and with a strong determination from the leaders, and to push the KPI, and also of course some support and some really good strategies to form this kind of change. That's also important. So but that's or go back to the original way is do we understand the purpose, or do we have a good objective of our company to help making a better world, to provide better service to our customers, and to embrace the digital world.
Thank you very much, Chan Stanley. So it is very interesting discussions with Dr. Adam, Chan Stanley, Jantima Prungkan, Miss Jantima Prungkan. Thank you very much for the session. I could see that human digital, it is happening. We cannot run away. It is a future of work. We will need to embrace it. There will be a lot of disruption, of course. There will be a lot of rejections from people, but it is something that change happen. People, whether you like it or not, it will happen. And what we will need to do is that we need to adjust the mindset with all this volatile, ever-changing environment. And for that organizations to support that kind of thing, you will have a strong leadership support for the good strategy and change to have the good the purpose, to understand the purpose of digital transformation, digital revolutions towards the human digital. And then I can also hear that in regards to the organization itself, employees might be scared of losing their jobs, but the initiative internally to identify the right talent and who needs to do what, and having the right talent on the right job, and having internal movings, and then identifying new jobs for and adding up. And it might be that the workforce itself will increase instead of decreasing with all these digital transformation initiatives, or all the road to human digital environment to make sure that efficient work. But it will be something that is new jobs. It will be new tasks that is need to be done, and be excited on this movements on having the human digital in the near future will happen, where I will probably work with humans and digital at the same time. So thank you very much for the session today, Ms. Jantima, Mr. Chan Stanley, and Dr. Adam Chi. Hope that everyone's on the audience can get good insights of our discussions today in regards to digital workforce and workplace discussions. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Tiarma. Thank you to the rest of our panelists for that great discussion. If you have any questions for any of our speakers, you can just reach out to them directly by clicking on the People tab on the upper right-hand corner and searching for their name. They'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks again, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so up next, we have a presentation on financial services, enhancing employee and customer experience in a hybrid world. We have Jacob Leon, Asia Pacific Acrobat Sign Account Lead at Adobe.
Hey, thanks for the introduction, Jed. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Fantastic. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can you see my screen, Jed? All coming in clear?
All good. Go ahead.
Perfect. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for attending Adobe's session today. As Jed mentioned, I'll be focusing kind of high level on the future of work, focusing on the financial service industry. How are we embracing hybrid collaboration, and how are we looking at business processes and making them more successful in the future of work? I have a short time here, but the agenda that I'll be covering is, of course, given a brief introduction. Again, my name is Jacob. I am kind of the APAC lead for Adobe's Document Cloud solutions across Southeast Asia primarily. And I'll be sharing some digital trends that were captured in the most recent 2022 Digital Trends report that was produced by Adobe and eConsultancy, where we essentially surveyed an online survey of almost 10,000 different participants in the survey, ranging from C-level executives to general practitioners across various business sectors, as well as business sizes from SMB all the way to top enterprise. So we're pulling some statistics from this survey that will outline the focus in financial service trends and what is post-pandemic priorities looking like? And then lastly, I won't be highlighting too much on any specific product about Adobe, but just a quick highlight of what is Adobe doing and offering our customers who are embracing the future of work. And then, of course, at the end, we likely won't have time for live Q&A, but as Jed mentioned, feel free to click my picture in the top right-hand corner and go over to Adobe's booth to ask some questions. So to kick it off, we'll just make it obvious, right? Given the pandemic, working remote, being in lockdown, it's clear that the aspects of business have changed forever. Even as we look at a post-pandemic world, people are going back into the office, there's less remote work. These are still going to remain top priorities for any organization, especially the executives when they look at the future. So, of course, engagements have to be digital first. And when you think of digital first engagements, you have to think of that customer experience. Everything your business does has to be experience driven, not only for the experience of your customers, but of course, the experience that your employees have. Now, again, people are starting to go back to the office. But if you're like me, I got pretty comfortable working remote. And now people and employees are starting to expect a hybrid model. There even is the great resignation that's been sounded by many different organizations. And it's actually employees that are resigning and actively seeking companies that are offering remote work, if not a hybrid workforce. So, going into the office once or two times a week, maybe even once or two times a month. This is going to be the new norm, and companies need to be ready to embrace it. Now, these stats here were pulled from a 2020 report from CIO.com and essentially stating what is the obvious. CIO's top priority, 82% of these business executives consider digital transformation and digital initiatives critical for their future success. So from the basic digitization to full-blown digitalization, automating, using machine learning, to then business transformation. How are you changing internal operations, and how are you changing the products and offerings that you have to embrace the digital world? Now, from this point of view here, we'll then go ahead and go into the digital trends report from Adobe. And this is just a quick industry snapshot with the financial service in focus. Now, it's clear that there is definitely a behavior shift in the world. 200% increase in mobile banking signups, 85% increase in banking traffic online. We also have digital threats. Our standard massive banks that are, the largest banks in the world, they're having threats from neobanks, banks that are coming with online-only digital-first engagements. Again, they're targeting the millennials, Generation Z. If you're anything like me, I have relocated and moved from America to Australia to then Singapore. And every time I'm looking for new services, whether it's a bank, whether I'm signing up for insurance, I'm looking for companies that are offering me the best digital experience and removing the most friction from me becoming a customer. I don't want to have to go into a branch. I don't want to have to send in a paper form. Give me a digital experience and make me want to work with your financial institution. Now, it's clear banks highly impacted during the pandemic, which of course has led to an increase in the speed to deploy and adopt new digital technologies, as well as new ways of working, embracing the digital workforce, as well as offering digital services for acquiring new customers. Now, summarizing some of those core challenges that would come from that industry snapshot, there's of course risk and compliance challenges when it comes to having low maturity with digital documents or collaboration platforms with a remote workforce. This decreases employee experience. So having to embrace the digital workforce, how do we enable them to continue to be efficient? That is going to, of course, lead to operational challenges. So large revenue percentages at risk due to the lack of digital initiatives, and most importantly, the impact for the customer experience. So 60% of banks having difficulties onboarding new customers if they don't have a digital process for onboarding. Now, those challenges then convert to what are some of the priorities and goals for financial service industry. So within this digital trends report, it stated that 51% of meaningful digital interactions need to be digital in order to improve and focus on the customer's overall financial health and well-being of every one of their customers. So having a faster time to market with new and digital product offering and services, engaging your customers more online, and those digital sort of signups, and for the the largest banks in the world, they need to modernize and be able to offer experiences to attract the younger generations, and of course compete against these neobanks that are offering digital first. So some of these top strategic responses to meet the customer's expectations, very well summarized again: launching digital offerings, enabling as much self-service interactions as possible, and of course, getting a deeper insight and deeper analytics into your customer so that you can understand the evolving situation and needs with the economy, with the pandemic, to be able to engage with your customer anytime, anywhere. Now, when we start to segment and look at what is it specifically stating about the pandemic. So I think it's pretty obvious, right? Digital transformation was accelerated, but when CIOs and CTOs think about their digital transformation strategy, they were thinking years down the line, and 39% of the respondents in the financial service sector stated that the pandemic accelerated those timelines, which I think is pretty obvious, right? So when we think of some of the core aspects of the pandemic, the post-pandemic priorities, it's clear that in APAC, these organizations and these executives have stated that, having the speed and interest in innovating their solutions is going to be vital, as well as having the agility to be able to collaborate well across all of their employees, especially from a remote workforce. So some of these stats here we'll mention is, 51% of the respondents said that businesses are adopting that hybrid work model. Again, our workforce is disrupted. Even though we're going back into the office, back into the branch, we are still looking at that hybrid work model. So then, looking at the hybrid work model, I've stated it already, and I think it is obvious. Pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, it really doesn't matter. These work models are going to stay, and they're going to continue to increase in the long run. So it's stated that by the year 2023, we're already almost there, the number of remote or at-home workers is predicted to increase by 36%. And then obviously here then by the 2023, in-office workers is going to be declining between 56 and 36% as well. So when we start thinking forward, hybrid work, remote workforce, in this report, surprisingly, it came out that banking and financial service leaders, out of all other industries surveyed, face the greatest challenges when it comes to the hybrid workforce. So of the respondents that were surveyed, these are some of the statistics that were stated. So, a loss of productivity, 18% loss of productivity, and 14% lack of collaboration that has decreased since moving to a hybrid workforce. Furthermore, as we're enabling the workforce, this is putting a huge impact on the IT centers. So our IT employees are now focusing on enabling, making sure all the right solutions and technology are in place, troubleshooting, so that our remote workers continue to be efficient. So 20% are stating that their staff, IT staff, is overstretched, and this is causing a 33% increase in total IT costs. So as we're kind of rounding out these trends, these post-pandemic priorities, we're kind of getting to what is Adobe doing for this? And interestingly enough, the survey showcased that the executives in the financial service industry stated that about 41% stated that they strongly agree that the pandemic has increased their reliance on workflow automation tools. And then about 63% of the execs surveyed believe that workflow transformation, electronic signatures, collaboration platforms like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, these are going to be essential solutions and products that they need to continue to growth and meet those growth expectations with the remote working model. So what is Adobe doing about this? And surprisingly, the challenges and the priorities that are coming up from post-pandemic and from the pandemic and all of this interest in remote work, digital experience, digitization, these are not new challenges that we've been addressing. Since the birth of our company with Creative Cloud, as well as with Adobe Acrobat, we've been facing digital manual document process challenges for years. So all of the errors and redundancies that come from repeating processes due to errors and that manual process, of course, the physical costs of shipping, express posting documents across your city, even across the state or the country, all of which lead to security and compliance risks and breaches. And ultimately, we keep coming to focus on experience, the digital experience that your employees and your customers are going to continue to desire and expect from your business. So with these challenges, the Adobe Document Cloud has been a core solution that we've offered our customers. Everyone, I'm sure, is aware of Acrobat, Acrobat Reader, Acrobat Pro. This is our core PDF creation and collaboration tool, which allows employees in the office, working remote, working on their desktop, working on a mobile device, to create, transform, collaborate on digital documents. So there's desktop apps and mobile apps for all of those verbs that we've coined for document manipulation and collaboration. We also have a free scanning app, Adobe Scan. You can go ahead and download it today, iOS or Android, and start to digitize ad hoc documents into the Adobe PDF. We then expand that into our e-signature and workflow automation platform, Acrobat Sign. So this is for capturing legally binding e-signatures, automating workflows, and even just integrating e-signatures into enterprise applications across the Microsoft suite, across CRMs, document management systems, you name it. Then we come to the more advanced as we start to further automate. So Adobe's taken all the great tools from Acrobat, and we've converted those into PDF service APIs. So having document generation, PDF extract, OCR, all of the various PDF tools at your disposal in API format to embed directly into your web page or into custom applications. So furthermore, here at a high level, the Adobe Document Cloud is accelerating digital transformation, and it is enabling the remote workforce. So high fidelity document creation, again, in your desktop apps, mobile devices, tablets, whether you're in the office or you're working remote. Even we have banking customers that have still using tablets for on-premise in the branch, but still digitizing forms to create a better experience. Then using artificial intelligence and machine learning for content extraction and intelligent document generation within your custom applications as well. And then, of course, Adobe is offering a platform for secure and capturing frictionless verified e-signatures with Acrobat Sign. And now I'll finalize my portion here by giving just a little bit more in-depth view on what those end-to-end document experiences could look like within the Adobe Document Cloud. And we highlight our partnership with Microsoft here, as we are Microsoft's preferred electronic signature solution, and our entire digital document tools and portfolio are embedded directly into the Microsoft applications. So creating and collaborating on documents ad hoc within your productivity apps of choice, Microsoft Teams, Office 365, or having them in a structured workflow in terms of SharePoint or Power Automate. And then, of course, when you have that nice PDF document ready to go, that nice new contract for your customer, you can then execute on documents with automated approvals or electronic signatures using Acrobat Sign. So that's it for my quick 15, 20 minutes there on the future of work. What are some digital trends that we're seeing in this last 2022 Digital Trends Report? And how is it affecting the financial service industry? What are the challenges they face? What are the trends that they're going to look to achieve? And what are some of their priorities now that the pandemic is coming out, post-pandemic here? So again, if you have any questions, I'm sorry I wasn't able to see in the chat pod, but if there's anything that you'd like to learn more about, please don't hesitate to stop by the Adobe booth. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jacob, for that great presentation. As what Jacob said, if you want to have any questions for him or Adobe, you can catch him and his colleagues over at the Adobe booth, and they'd be more than happy to assist you. Thanks again, Jacob.
No problem. Take care, Jed.
Bye. All right. Up next, we have a presentation by Ramsundar Radhakrishnan, Product Marketing Manager, ITSM at Freshworks, on the state of workplace technology. Is WorkTech keeping pace with employee expectations? So over to you, Ram.
Hey, thank you, Jack. I hope you can hear me well. I'm audible enough.
Loud and clear.
Perfect. I'll quickly start sharing my screen and I'll get started. All right. Is my screen visible as well, Jack?
Yep. Go to presenter mode.
Perfect.
All right. Good to go.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm glad to share the recent survey that we did on software at work, the findings, and also our take on the employee experience. Before we get started, if you are hearing Freshworks for the first time, a quick introduction about Freshworks. So founded in 2010, we have more than 50,000 customers who trust us on their employee and customer support. And we have offices across 12 locations with an office in Singapore as well. And we are recognized in leading publications like Gartner and Forrester. We also power leading customers in Southeast Asia like 7-Eleven, Line, and Mittens. These are the brands that are familiar to you, and we have a sizable presence in Southeast Asia. With that, I'll quickly switch to the agenda for today's session. So we'll be talking about the state of workplace technology today, where it stands in comparison with the employee expectations, and what companies generally offer to employees today across industries. And we'll also talk about what's the impact of the workplace tech, where it stands and what is the impact on productivity and business for employees to do their day-to-day work. And we also have a slideware on like what Freshworks proposes to a modern employee experience, how companies can take control of the employee experience and do well. Not just the theoretical points, I would also like to show something in action, like how you can implement these pointers in your end user or like your day-to-day employee portal. And we also got few customer stories who have implemented this and what they are seeing as results in their organization. Perfect. So state of workplace technology. So Freshworks, we actually commissioned a report on software state at work. These are the results, what we actually observed. Like the results are like quite staggering. What we found was like 9 out of 10 employees today, they are like frustrated with the workplace tech they have in their organization. What is even more staggering is that like 71% of business leaders, they feel that their employees might quit or like start looking for another job if they don't have access to the right tools or the tool set. This is quite significant because considering the great resignation and considering the trend to retain high talent, good top talent becoming difficult, like this talks about the impact of having a good tech in a workplace tech in an organization. So this has kind of become an important criteria for employees to consider when they choose a new company or to consider retaining in the same company. So, and we also ask them further about like what they feel about the present workplace, like what actually are the challenges they face, what leads to this frustration, what do they think should change, or like what is the top frustration with their present tool set. So the primary thing that we heard is the clunky, the old tools, like which are basically like slow, like nothing like you are in the middle of a presentation, you are doing your work, and like suddenly the tool acts up and like it doesn't work as intended. That's the top frustration. And also most of the participants, what they mentioned was like the most of the day-to-day activities, they're like heavily dependent on IT teams. Like even for simple actions like getting access to a particular application or like a privilege change or like they need something within the organization which they're already privileged to, even for that they're like heavily dependent on IT teams, and their response time like take an impact on their day-to-day work. Another interesting observation that we found was the like in an organization the number of tools that we use like as like really grown up, like right from collaboration tools to the documents to the number of tools we use in the organization like has grown up. But the collaboration between these tools, like it's not like great. You still have to store information in multiple places, and there is also no collaboration between like different internal organizations. So finance team using a different tool, marketing team using a different tool, like it results in like data silos and teams not getting the right context. And quite a significant amount of people also mentioned the like applications missing critical features and capabilities, and also a stress about automation. More than 1/4 of the people have mentioned they would like to see more automation in their day-to-day tool that they use. We also the numbers are like even more pronounced for the APAC region. Like almost like 86% of the people feel like they interact with the tool which is like a legacy tool or like a bloatware. They encounter this like on their day-to-day work, and more like almost like 60% of them can even go to the point say like it directly impacts their productivity, it affects their work, like what they are doing to the business. It is directly impacted, I mean it gets impacted by the tech that they are using for their day-to-day work. So we have more interesting nudges on this report. I'll leave this report in the chat, but I'll also like to talk about what this means for companies. Like we see that the results clearly show that the current workplace tech is like clearly not meeting employee expectations. It's not just the employee experience that is getting impacted; it's also the business outcomes. Because as you can see, as Forrester notes here, only the employees who are happy at work can drive better customer obsessed outcomes. So it's not just the employee experience that is getting impacted, it's also your customer satisfaction. The employees who support your end users, business users, they are also getting indirectly impacted by the employee morale at work. It's going to affect the business outcomes, your customer satisfaction scores, and also how you operate internally. So, like I mentioned, like to summarize, like why employee experience matters even more than today. Like it results in like if you provide a better employee experience, it's going to directly take control of your like employee turnover, like to keeping it low, like making them happy, retention, all that stuff will be taken care if you implement a solution that takes care of employee experience. And ultimately it's going to take care of both customer satisfaction as well as the how your business performs in terms of productivity and revenue numbers. And the last point is like only when you have a offer a like a concrete employee experience to your employees, that's when there is an environment for innovation and like high productivity. So like the survey, like as it pointed out, like it clearly says there is a direct correlation between the workplace tech and the employee experience part. So here I would like to talk about what at Freshworks we would recommend. Like we work predominantly with IT companies, non-IT teams, customer support teams. Like what we recommend to our customers, like how they provide a delightful employee experience for their customers. So first I'll cover the pointers, and I also have something to show in terms of video, like a product, like how it looks like, what it means for the end users. The first one is like keeping employees satisfied. Easier said than done. Like how we do it, like giving them the right tools. Like I said earlier, like bringing down the dependency on the IT team. Make more services like self-serve. Like they can access it if they are eligible for it. You give them an avenue or like a platform where they request for it and they can get access to it right away. There is no like immediate dependency on IT teams. There can be few processes, like few applications which are like still IT dependent, but if you see something like access to a particular application, like someone in the design team, they need access to a design software, someone in the marketing team, they're looking for a brochure template, those items like need not be like behind IT agent's response. It can be like more freely available with a K-base or like a portal where the information is like readily available. Second one is the delivering customer grade experiences. If you notice, an employee who's working in an organization, they are already privy to the tools like Amazon or like Uber that they use in their day-to-day life for their personal needs. They kind of expect a similar experience with the workplace tech as well. Like they're not like tuned to like using a legacy or like a bloatware tool at work. They expect similar kind of experience in interacting with workplace tools, similar to the personal tools they use. This is something as an organization, like as a leader, we should keep in mind while choosing a tool. It should not be just like fit for purpose, like how easy it is to use for employees. Is it like is it something that is very intuitive for employees to get, or like do you need to conduct a training session for them to adopt to the tool? So these are some things that you need to keep in mind while choosing any internal tool for your employees. Third is the delighting employees with modern tools and technologies. Like if you notice the buying pattern of like enterprise applications, any internal applications that you use in your organization, the buying pattern has changed significantly in the last 5 or 10 years, I would say. Like if you take 5 or 10 years back, the procurement process is like heavily dependent on IT teams. The IT teams go through the procurement process, they select a tool, because they are the ones who are involved in the deployment and the selection. But in the last 5 to 10 years, like there are like plethora of SaaS apps. So like most of these SaaS apps offer like free trial, they offer a freemium model. So the employee themselves, they can use their personal login and they are familiar with most of the tools in the market. So they expect they're already familiar with what they need. I mean, they know what kind of tools they need and what each tool in the market they can offer. So this is very important to involve the employees or the functional teams also part of the IT tool purchase process, because if you don't do that, it will result in shadow IT. So you might have introduced a particular collaboration tool across company, but there might be a small team in the like a tiger team that is working on a particular project. They might find the tool like hard to use. They might be already using a separate collaboration tool. So you can avoid these kind of like inconsistencies within the same org by involving the employees in the procurement process as well, and by giving them the modern and the latest tools for support. Fourth one is the automation. I mean, it might sound a cliched one, but it's still relevant. Like if like automate as much as possible is what like the IT leaders, I mean the consultants, the leading thought leaders would say. Like what you like if you have employed a person just to look at like the incoming alerts or like send out emails based on product behavior, like those things you can automate. Leverage tools which offer more automation capabilities so that you can allow your employees and the IT teams, any internal team to work on what they are supposed to do. Like, don't bog them down with manual tasks like sending regular emails, like periodic notifications. Those kind of tasks can be automated. And fifth one is like reviewing your IT toolset periodically. Like I mentioned in the third point, like the number of tools that are used in the company has only like grown up. Like we generally think like we use like X number of tools, but if you really use a like a SaaS management tool or like a tool survey to find out how many tools that are behind your IDP, like a Google or Microsoft, you will be surprised, because like from what I have seen, it's like generally like 3x or 4x of what IT admins generally think, because this is purely based on the emergence of the SaaS apps. Like anyone can sign up for a particular trial and they can start using the product from their login. So that's why we always recommend review your IT tool periodically, because that's how you can introduce a coherent application set for your employees, so that like there is no inconsistency, and also like data is like not segregated between like different tools in your same organization. Perfect. I'll also show a few product visuals, like how this can be done. Like we talked about keeping employees satisfied, giving customer grade experience, how a modern tool should look like. And also we talked about automation. I'll show this in action. Like it's just a small 2-minute video. It does not have an audio. I'll talk about it. So if you notice, what modern companies generally do is they offer a unified portal for employees. This is like a one-stop solution. Like if your employee base is like spread across multiple locations, you have like people from different departments. So IT cannot cater to every single request from every single function, like ranging from access to a Zoom application, access to a document software, or like booking for travel requests. So you can bring everything under a single portal and introduce introduce them as a like one point solution where they can access everything. This will be like the go-to portal for reporting issues, or if they need access to something, or if they need to access like articles, like documentation. It could be the financial, like for their personal finance, or like even the marketing brochures, or what the sales team should follow. Everything can be in one portal, so that everything, and you can basically segregate them based on visibility, which team should see what and which team should not see the specific sections of the portal. But you should give them like one portal instead of giving them like multiple avenues, so that they need to bookmark multiple links, and this information is generally lost when someone new joins the company or someone leaves. So that's the first point I would suggest. And it's not just the like creating an end user portal. It's also important to constantly update the portal, because when they go to report an issue, incident in the system, you should talk well with the K-base in the portal, because only when like you have a sound K-base, so the employees who are reporting the issue, if they find the answers to those issues on their own, it's also going to be like beneficial for your internal team. So they don't need to work on the same issue which you have already documented. So this is also like very helpful if you maintain an integrated K-base within your like the self-service portal. So just to summarize, you give them a unified portal. That unified portal should give them options to access anything within the internal company, right from reporting an issue to a particular team, or getting access to anything that they would need. Not just IT requests. It can be anything from marketing, finance, travel desk, anything that should be available from a single portal. The next thing I'll show is like how you can do this. Like I mentioned the consumer grade experience. So you can actually offer a like a catalog, just like how Amazon offers a catalog. You can give all the services that you offer in your company. Like I mentioned, it's not just IT, right? From marketing, HR, like even if you provide like services to your engineers, developers, it can be available in a single portal, so that they can choose right from here. And also, don't ask for repetitive information. If the information is already part of the internal directory, we shouldn't be forcing them to fill out the same information. Instead, the system should be intelligent enough to get it from the other existing information. So these things would make life simple for an employee, like right from like if they're joining a company, like if all they have to do is just visit a single portal. So this is the next part I would like to address. Like the end user portal is like something companies have already adopted. The next level is employees expect more like conversational support. They are like, if you are someone who's like the IT support, like 5 or 10 years ago, you would see people raising tickets in portal. But people like they are so used to chat support, conversational support in the personal applications they use. They expect the same thing in the internal tools they use as well. So if your internal tool supports chatbot, promote it so that they can get access to it right in a conversational mail. They don't have to fill out the form, everything. The next step to the conversational supporters, the trend these days have been like people expect the IT service desk support right within the collaboration tools they use. They don't need to remember a particular site or like a URL to get access to support. So what like internal support is looking like these days is like you can embed your service portal itself within your collaboration tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams. So the employees can get access to the service right within their collaboration tool. So it's not like you need to remember a URL or like fill out a form. Everything happens within the Slack or Microsoft Teams kind of collaboration tool that you use. So for them, it won't even look like a internal tool. It would look like an Slack app or like Microsoft Teams app. They can perform all the actions, like right from ticket creation, reporting an incident, or if they are like a manager, they have to approve something. Like you give every access to them right from the collaboration tool they use. And the next thing I want to highlight is in terms of employee experience, it's not just the day-to-day work. The employee experience starts right when the employee gets an offer from the company. That's why the organizations go even one step further to delight their employees right from day one. If you get an opportunity to like implement a solution for employee onboarding, like focus on like what kind of things you can do even before they join the company, especially in the current trend, like where the difficulty to retain high talent or like find a new top talent is difficult. These are the small things which will differentiate your company compared to your peers and competitors. So like imagine you asking your new hire like their preferred t-shirt size even before they join the company. These small things would create an impression, and it will give a good impression in terms of employee experience before your new hire. And we talk about employee experience in terms of end users. It's not just the end user employee experience. It's also about like how you make life simple for people who are behind the employee requests, someone in the marketing team, IT team who handle those requests. For them, the life like they shouldn't be like forced to work on a legacy clunky tool where they have to send those emails for approvals. You can make life simple for them like by you automating as much as possible, like I mentioned in the past slide. Like your internal tool should be able to talk to multiple tools like Slack, Zoom, or like if you're using Azure DevOps, or if you're using a cloud platform for file storage. Your internal tool should be like, just like how I mentioned, your internal tool should be like one-stop solution for employees. Similarly, for the technicians and the agents who are working on those employee requests, the tool should speak to other third-party tools so that they are like empowered to perform everything within the like a single unified solution tool. So with that, I'll switch back to slides. So I would like to show a couple of examples where organizations implemented Freshworks solutions and got employee experience right. The first one is Singex. So they are Singapore-based venue and consultancy company. So like before Freshworks, they were using a they did not have like a proper solution for IT support and other internal organization support. After implementing Freshworks, they were able to bring in all employees under a single portal. Remember, they are part of multiple locations. Like they were able to consolidate everything in one single portal, and they are able to see good results in terms of both incident resolution as well as request fulfillment. The key is like the key lies in like not just introducing the portal, but also like evangelizing it so that people know about it, so that like they know like where to go when in terms of resolution and support. Second one is the story of Simples. So Simples, like I mentioned, they invested heavily on K-base, knowledge base. They build the product as if it is an internal documentation tool, so that anything their employees would need, it is already available, like ready reckoner for them in the internal portal. As you can see, it brought down their first call resolution from like 2 to 3 days to like just 24 hours. And also in terms of customer satisfaction, before the setup, they were at 40%, and they were able to shore it up to 75% with Freshworks implementation. So just to summarize, like if you are if you are in a situation to where your employee experience scores are low, where you are trying to build confidence among your employees, I'll recommend you to look for an unified portal solution where you can make everything available for employees in a seamless way and automate as much as possible. Like where it's not just the employee and end user automation. You can make life simple for the agents who are behind the internal help desk. Make life simple for them by automating the road tasks that they do, like in terms of sending emails or just supervising the existing tickets. Those kind of things you can leave it to automation. And also, when choosing a tool, choose a tool that is intuitive and easy to use, so that you don't need a dedicated person to implement, or you don't need an army of developers to just configure and maintain. It should be like easy, intuitive, and so that it becomes easy for you to maintain on a day-to-day basis. And even in terms of scale, your company is going to grow, your employee count is going to go up, and your people who are offering support is going to go up. How to ensure that your tool also scales with that. So keep that in mind when you are implementing a solution for showing up employee experience. Yeah. With that, yeah. Jed, I think we have a poll in the tool. We can launch that now. So Freshworks, like I mentioned, we have offices across 12 locations. We have a presence in Singapore, and also we have presence in Malaysia. So if you'd like us to, if you'd like to talk to us about your present setup, and if you need any consultants on like a consultancy on like how to go forward with Freshworks, or like if you just need to talk about like employee experience or anything that I showcased today, please feel free to select this. We'd be happy to discuss in detail about your present setup and where we can offer help. Jed, is the poll on? So I couldn't check from my end.
Yeah, the poll is showed on stage, Ram.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. I'll leave it on for 30 seconds, and then maybe we can switch to Q&A if any. Yeah. All right. Any questions on the chat, Jed? Anything you want me to address?
Yeah, so we have one question here in the chat. Ram, I'll just show it on stage. It's from Muryadi Lu.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah. How to deliver employee delight with limited budget? Like if you look at the solutions in the market, or like coming up, like identifying the right solution, right? Like don't go for a solution. I won't say don't go for a solution. I would say like choose first, identify what is needed for you in terms of employee delight. The first thing that involves is like identifying where your team lacks. Is it the satisfaction scores, or is it the interaction with the IT team? What actually results in the low employee delight scores? Like there are like you can the first key part is, I would say, is to identifying where your team lacks. What are the metrics your team is performing poorly? First of all, is there a way for employees to like share that concern? Like they need like a better solution, or like do you run an internal NPS kind of survey, like where they can share their opinion where they need help? That's the first thing I would recommend. Second is like collating, like keeping all the stakeholders whenever you purchase an internal tool for support. Keep all the stakeholders in the decision making process and the procurement process. Yeah, those are the two things I would call out. You don't need all the flashy things to implement a solution that offers employee delight. You can go with, if you identify the right metrics where your team is lacking, and all you need is like identifying the automation scope where you can minimize. I mean, the examples that I showcased today, it's not like something you need to involve like a consultancy team or like developers to build it. These are things that I showed which are like out of the box. You just need to drag and drop. Like it's not like a 15, 20 member tools team who build it and maintain it on a day-to-day basis. Simple. That's why I mentioned it's very important to choose a tool which is easy to use and intuitive. Which will, if it is easy to use for admins as well as employees, most of your problems will be solved. Anything else, Chet?
That is the only question we have currently on the Q&A tab, Ram.
Perfect. Yeah. Like I mentioned, if you have any further questions on Freshworks or any of the solutions that we offer in terms of ITSM, the internal tool, feel free to ping me on Airmeet solution, or like contact me at our booth. We'll be happy to assist you with any questions with the solution.
All right. Thank you so much, Ram. So yeah, as what Ram said, if you have any more questions for him or the Freshworks team, you can catch him and his colleagues over at the Freshworks booth. They'd be more than happy to assist you. Also, we still have the poll up. So if anybody still wants to answer Ram's poll, you can just go to the poll tab on your right-hand side and answer the poll there. Thanks again, Ram.
Thank you, Jed. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Okay, so that is a wrap for our third track, which is the digital workforce and workplace track. See you all on the next track.